Welcome to episode number 109 of the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media and presented to you by our good friends over at SeatGeek. And boy, am I super excited because I've got one of my favorite guys in all of baseball, Mark Grant, the Padres analyst, alongside Don Orsillo, one of the best broadcast booths around. Mud, it is good to see you where you're joining us from 1979 Wrigley Field. I love the look behind you, dude.
Oh, Rosebud, it is so good to talk to you. How about, I grew up in the Chicagoland area, Joliet. I grew up to love baseball, love the Cubs by watching WGN. And this is one of the old, I took a screenshot of I am so weird. You know me. And I know I'm going off on a tangent already, but I'll go on YouTube and I'll just watch old Harry Carey, Jimmy Pearsall games from Comiskey Park when they were the White Sox team. I'll go back and watch Jack Brickhouse and Vince Lloyd and Lou Boudreau and Milo Hamilton for the Cubs. So that's where I got this background. But it's so good to talk to you. I've always been a big fan. I love your style. I love what you do. So, hey, let's lead off because I'm the leadoff man.
All right. So as a kid growing up in Joliet, do you remember the first time you went to Wrigley?
I do. Donnie and I talked about this the other day, actually. And, that's the beauty of baseball. You have a blowout game. The Dodgers were beating them 10-1. So my mind starts thinking of things to keep the crowd engaged watching on TV. But I remember I was 7 years old. I went with my uncle, my cousin, who both pitched professionally, by the way, and my dad to Wrigley Field. And I remember always watching those Cubs games, seeing it in black and white because the Grant household didn't have a color TV till I was like 12. So yes. I remember going to Wrigley, just all the chaos underneath the bleachers, guy yelling scorecard. My dad bought a scorecard and a pencil, and then walking through and then smelling all the food, and then walking up that tunnel at Wrigley, Chris, where you walk up the stairs and all of a sudden you see the green ivy. You see the buildings across the street. You see the players running on the field, and then the crowd. It's like, oh my gosh, this place is real. I've been in my dark basement for the past 3-4 years watching on TV. Now I'm actually here. So that was, I was hooked before, but then I really got hooked once seeing a game in person.
So who was your guy? Who did you pretend to be in the backyard? Because I got to be honest, for me, it was Dwayne Kuiper growing up.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
I told him this before. Yeah. I've told him this before. I was like, yeah. He's like, wait a second, Chris, you pretended to be the guy who hit one major league home run in a dozen seasons. He's like, why would you ever do that?
Yeah. You mentioned a guy who is very near and dear to my heart. He's like a brother. Yeah. Dwayne Kuiper is probably my best friend in all of baseball. He and Mike Krukow. But this guy that I wanted to be and loved to watch was at the end of his career, and that was Ernie Banks. Oh. The Cubs back then, poor Ernie Banks, never played in a playoff game in his career. He and Billy Williams, Ron Santo. I mean, I could name that team. Jim Hickman, Don Kessinger, Randy Hundley. I can go on and on. Fergie Jenkins. But I wanted to be like Ernie Banks. Remember, he held the bat and kind of like just with his fingers right there, kind of real loose, and imitating him in the backyard playing wiffle ball, and then sweet swinging Billy Williams. Remember how Billy Williams used to he would practice his swing. He would spit and then hit his spit. Do you remember that? I don't know if you remember, but that's what he used to do. He used to spit. He said that helped him on the timing of the curveball, to stay back on the curveball. So we would do that.
As that. Who
exactly,
needs
right.
When you can practice hitting your spit?
So Ernie Banks and the Cubs were my guys.
So when you were you crushed by what happened with the Black Cat in '69? Were you old enough to know that?
I do. Yeah, I was young, but I do remember that because I remember watching all the time. The Mets, obviously, they went on to win it that year. That was the year was that the Amazing? Yeah, that was the Miracle Mets because the Amazings were at 62, I believe. I get the years mixed up, but yes, because they had such a lead in August and then they tanked, and the Chicago crowd, the Chicago fans, everybody, wanting a winner because, 1908, the whole thing. And, but it did not prevent me from still, rooting for the Cubs each and every year. They were my team, man. I loved coming home from school. No lights back then, Chris, as you well know. They didn't get the lights till 1988, but I remember watching games, extra innings, and it started to get dark, and they'd have to call the game because it got too dark, and then they'd have to resume it the next day if that team was still in town. So, yeah, those were the days.
They weren't any different than us little leaguers back in the day. Sorry, guys,
No.
it's too dark. Can't see the ball.
Yeah. Now, you grew up in Cleveland?
Yeah, suburb of Cleveland, Shaker Heights.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you and I were on opposite ends of the rooting train in 2016. Like you've been so ingrained in San Diego the last several decades, but when the Cubs won it all, and this is going to break my heart that we're even talking about this, did you resort to being like a 7-year-old again?
I got emotional. I did. I really did. Even though my association with the Padres for as long as it's been, there's always that soft spot in my heart because any fan, we like you and I, so fortunate to be in sports. You grew up in a certain region, you love that team. Maybe you go work for another ball club, but there's always that little soft spot in your heart. And I remember where I was. In fact, when they won the pennant, I was at home in Joliet at my high school class reunion that night.
Oh my God.
And there were people in the bars, like literally like crying, sobbing. And I didn't sob, but I got emotional because it's been a long time. There are generations of Cubs fans that had not seen this or witnessed it. That's why it was so special.
Yeah. And that's the way I felt. I mean, both my parents are gone, unfortunately. And now sports has been such an important part of not only what I've done for a living, but who my family is. And our DNA, as Midwesterners, we share this because there's so little to do where we're from. Like the weather always sucks. Like we have this little bond. We're just this tight-knit community, and you pass it on from generations to generations. So when something good comes in your life, you're like, you want to cherish that forever.
You know what, Chris, you make a great point because now, like when I go to, or even like during the off season, fortunate enough to live in San Diego where, I'm in flip flops and dry fit, the shorts, the t-shirt every day. I live in that stuff. So I'll check the weather. My mom and dad still live in the house I grew up in Joliet. And I think I look on the weather app and it's like 6 degrees. And it's like, and I think back to I say, what the heck did I do back then? What did I do? Right. But I had a great neighborhood, grew up in. The guys, if it was cold, we were still outside playing. If it was wet, that was a different story. But we played football, we played Nerf football, we played basketball, we played wiffle ball. I mean, that was our Nintendo, right?
Right.
Our video games were playing with the kids in the neighborhood each and every day. Yep. Those were our games. So,
I obviously remembered your entire career, but I did not know that you were the number 10 overall pick of the 1981 draft. And for people that are maybe a little bit older, this is the Mike Morgan, Joe Carter draft that year.
That's a shame, isn't it? What a wasted pick the Giants had that year.
Will you stop that? Just stop it. So how did you even find it? I mean, these days it's on MLB Network. It's been built up. It's a really big thing. It's a lot of fun for these kids and the teams and the whole bit. But in 1981, how do you even find out you're drafted by the San Francisco Giants?
Good question. And looking back on it, it's even comical because I am now the guy that screams, "Get off my lawn." I was being scouted heavily in high school, right? So then I had a calendar in my bedroom at home, June 8th, had it marked, circled, Sharpied, arrows pointing to it. So June 8th came, right? Graduation from high school. And we had our local, we had a transistor radio in our kitchen, our local station, 1340 WJOL. It's like a little 5,000 watt station. And, my mom and dad used to listen to that every morning, get the, school reports and, what soybeans were going for that morning. So they knew that the draft was happening. They had the ticker tape back at the radio station. So we have relatives and friends in the kitchen, grandparents, and the phone rings, and everybody's like, ah! Right? And it's one of my buddies from high school. Hey, did you get picked yet? I go, come on. I'm waiting for a phone call. So anyway, on the radio station, the guy's name was Ron Gleason. He still works in radio at WBBM in Chicago to this day. He said, we just received word from New York that the first 8 picks of the amateur draft have gone by, and Mark Grant has yet to be picked. And I was like, oh, my God, I was crushed. The Blue Jays had a pick. They took Matt Williams, a pitcher out of Rice, not the Matt Williams that everybody knows. I wanted the White Sox to pick me. I wanted the Cubs, but the Cubs, let's see, Cubs picked a pretty good player by the name of, Joe Carter. And then the White Sox picked Darryl Boston. So they're on the 2 hometown teams, right? So then like 2 minutes later, he comes back on and said, we just received from New York that the San Francisco Giants have selected Mark Grant in the 10th pick. And I just lost it. Hugging my dad. My mom's crying. All my relatives are crying. So that's how I found out on the old transistor radio, 1340 WJOL.
Wait a second. The Giants did not call you and say we're drafting you?
No. And then I didn't get, back then they had telegrams, right? I got a telegram like, I don't know, a day later or 2 days later, delivered to my house. But I did not get word until after the fact, hearing it on the radio, getting the telegram, and then a phone call that the Giants had selected me. Isn't that amazing?
A horse? Did some guy on a horse deliver it? What a telegram? This is not 1912. This is 1981, by the way.
I know. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, I never got a call. It's like,
we were putting people in space, Mark. Like, we can't figure out a way to pick up a phone and be like, "Hey, dude, congratulations, welcome to the Giants."
Yeah, when that phone rang and it was my high school buddy, I said to everybody, I hope that's Jim Fry on the phone. I think Jim was the general manager. He had something. It escapes me right now, but with the Cubs, hoping that because I wanted to be a Cub so badly. So, but no, that's gosh, I still have pictures that I look at from that day, and it was a great day because Chris, the Giants, what a great tradition as far as. Oh my gosh. Right. And I didn't realize that until I got into the organization and met the players, met the staff, and then, getting to meet Willie Mays and Willie McCovey and Mike McCormick and Tom Haller and Jimmy Davenport. If I wasn't going to be a Cub or a White Sox, it was great to be a Giant. It really was.
We are almost exactly 38 on the day we're recording this. It's almost 38 years to the day where you made your major league debut.
That's right. April 27th, Cincinnati. That's right. It's tomorrow. Wow.
And you're back in Cincinnati right now.
Yeah.
What do you
Riverfront no longer stands, obviously. Whew. Well, I remember I got the call in Phoenix. The morning before, that would be today, my manager, Jack Mull, called me to the ballpark. He said, pack your bags, you're going to the big leagues. I was like, oh my gosh. And this is a true story. My dad was at work. He was an architect. And I went in my manager's office, touch tone phone. No cell phones back then, folks.
Right.
I misdialed my dad's office number like 3 times because I was so nervous. And I got through to him and I said, hey, what are you doing tomorrow night? He goes, nothing. Why? He goes, because I'm starting in Cincinnati. Or the day after that, because it was an off day the next day. So anyway, got to Cincinnati, and my roommate was Johnny Rabb, catcher. We had roommates back then. The younger guys had roommates. Could not sleep the night before, obviously, just all fired up, all geared up. And then my mom and dad came and watched me, and took the loss.
Didn't pitch poorly. 4 runs, 4 hits in 6 innings, I think is what I saw.
Yeah.
Not terrible. It's not
Well, the first, and that's the beauty of Baseball Reference, because you can look up games and, the play-by-play and stuff. If I remember correctly, my first batter, Eddie Milner, ball 1, ball 2, ball 3, ball 4. Dwayne Walker, ball 1, ball 2, 2-run shot. So I gave up 2 runs without getting it out. And then I think Dave Parker hit a double. anyway, I got out of that first inning and then kind of, got my legs under me and got kind of under control a little bit. But yeah, wow. How many years ago, Chris, was that? 38. Almost 40? 38 years. Wow.
Wait,
I had a full head of hair, and that was like 80 pounds ago.
All right. I'm not far behind you. You were only 20 when you made your major league debut?
Yes. Yeah. I made 3 starts. Well, I was drafted as a 17-year-old. Didn't turn 18 till October. So, yes. Yeah. And then I started 84 in Phoenix. I believe I made 3 starts. And then I got called up. So, yeah, I was 20 at the time. Pretty young.
How do you remember? Can you put yourself in your cleats in that day?
Yeah.
Like how nervous you were? Like, could you even sit?
Well, first of all, being a baseball fan, not only of the Cubs, but baseball in general, I'm making my major league debut at Riverfront Stadium, home of the Big Red Machine. All those teams in the 70s. I believe Tony Perez was still with Concepcion was there.
Yeah, Concepcion, I think, hit a homer that day.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Thanks.
No, I'm just here to report facts, bud.
Tony Perez was either a coach or he was still playing, but Vern Rapp was the manager. And I remember going out there for the bottom half of the first inning after we hit, and I looked down at the mound. And I know it sounds so cliche, but I could not feel my feet or my legs. All those thoughts going through my mind. Oh my gosh, I'm pitching in the big leagues. It was just years ago. I was pitching in high school, thinking about Little League, thinking about I'm going to be throwing against guys that I admired growing up as a kid. Now I'm 60 feet, 6 inches away from Nick Asaski, Dave Concepcion. I'm pitching on the mound where, Tom Seaver once pitched and Don Gullett and all those greats, So, I always say when guys are making their debuts, it's a bunch of firsts, right? The first strike, the first out, the first inning. And once that kind of settles in, you got to find your groove. Then, okay, hopefully you get that feeling like, okay, I belong and I'm going to do okay. So,
by the way, you talk about joining a veteran-laden Giants team. I looked at some of the guys in that starting lineup that day.
Can I guess?
Go for it, brother.
Brenly caught.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Clark was at first. Manny Trio at second.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Lee, Bones Lemaster at short.
Nice.
Joel Youngblood was at third. Chili Davis was in center. Jeffrey Leonard was in left.
I'll tell you who else was in the lineup.
Who's in right?
Dusty Baker was on the team.
Dusty and I were teammates. That's right. Yeah, that was pretty cool. You're not going to Baker more than me. I just admire that man. I just love him to death. He is great teammate, great person.
Oozes coolness. Oh
my gosh.
He's cool in his late 70s. I can't imagine what he was like when he was playing.
As a player, hey, you know what? I will say this, Chris. There are guys I can say in my career that I played with that were that would give you like that feeling of being starstruck. Dusty Baker is like one of those guys to where he walks in a room and it's like, that's Dusty Baker. And if he speaks, I'm going to listen. And if he speaks, it's going to matter. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way I can remember, because I remember we had a team meeting once and he said few words, but the words he said, it was like, wow. Yeah, if he's saying it, it must be true. And that's what we have to do. But no, I love Dusty. I think he's the best. I really do.
I think, and I had a hard time telling from the, I couldn't find the play-by-play, but it looked like Dwayne Kuiper might have pinch hit for you.
I think he did, yeah. Yeah. What a better guy to have pinch hit for me, right? Do you know the inside story to that start, Chris?
I don't.
There were 2 bench clearings.
In that game?
Yeah. Okay, here we go. So I'm pitching, and Ron Oster was their second baseman. So his first time up, I pop him up, foul territory, third base side. Joel Youngblood catches it. I get him out. So I get on the mound, get ready for the next guy. I'm peering in for the sign, and all of a sudden, Youngblood's at third base, playing even with the bag in, hands on his knees. And he yells, top of his lungs, "He got you out, you right?" So I look over at Joel, and he's like peering into the Reds dugout. I look into the Reds dugout, and Oster is like pacing in the dugout, just airing me out. He knows I'm 20. He knows I'm a rookie. He's trying to get in my head, right? So I'm like, wow, what's going on here? So I get out of the inning. I go back in the dugout to sit down, and Scotty Thompson and Scott Thompson was in the lineup, I believe. He might have been in right. And Joe Youngblood sit down next to me, and Blood goes, hey, Mark, don't let him get to you, man. Just, next time up, just kind of, brush him off the plate a little bit. Scott Thompson goes, yeah, just, brush him off the plate a little bit. I go, okay, all right. So his time comes up around, get him right in the ribs, just right in the ribs. He throws his bat down, and I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. He starts to walk out towards the mound. The bench is clear. No punches were thrown. He goes to first base. Big old hubbub. So then I come up the next time. Joe Price, soft tossing left-hander, is pitching for the Reds. First pitch is down by my feet. I skip a little rope, get out of the way. Second pitch hits me in the leg. I start to go towards first base. Bench is clear. Frank Robinson wants Joe Price's head on a platter. And that's one thing about Frank. I tell you what, I love Frank too. Frank was a great manager. You talk about making your major league debut for a manager who's a Hall of Famer, Frank Robinson. I mean, that's the guy. Frank stuck up for his players, man, and he wanted Joe Price's head on a platter. He went after Joe Price, yelling and pointing. I mean, if you ever see Frank Robinson, you don't want to cross Frank Robinson. But anyway, bench is cleared again, and then it all came to stop. So after the game, I take the loss. I get dressed. I meet my mom and dad outside, and my dad comes. I give my mom a big hug and kiss, and give my dad a big hug. And he says to me, he goes, "You know what, Mark?" He goes, "Some guys throw shutouts their major league debut. Some guys get the win their major league debut. You had 2 bench clearings."
That's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, it is. You know what I wish, Chris? I wish there was more video back then so I could actually go back and see and watch it. Like nowadays, everybody's on an iPhone and you see everything. Right. And so anyway, it was some debut, my friend.
All right. You're here, so I know you love baseball, but do you also love NFTs? Well, then this is the perfect place for you. And although the initial sale of the newly released 2022 Top Series 1 Baseball NFT collection is over, there is still a chance for you to get your own piece of the 2022 MLB season. In fact, the Topps NFTs marketplace provides the opportunity to buy unopened Series 1 NFT packs, as well as individual NFTs of your favorite players and teams from across the league. So you're a Mike Trout fan, you're an Aaron Judge fan, do you love Shohei, do you love Tatis, Vlad Jr.? It's all there for the taking. So you're able to snag packs. You can also sell your NFTs right now from your collection directly onto Topps NFTs marketplace. All you have to do, visit topsnfts.com for more information. Once again, that is topsnfts.com for more information. So you're looking for that next big thing, or do you want to sell yours as well? It is topsnfts.com for more information. Go do it today. What was your first time pitching at Wrigley like?
That was awesome. That was special. The first time, I think it was with the Giants. It was in 80. It didn't come till later because 84 I was up and down. 85 I spent in Phoenix. 86 I spent in Phoenix. Made the club out at spring training 87, and I got to start there at Wrigley. And it was just like, oh my gosh! Once again, here's a kid who just sat in the basement and watched Cubs baseball and Wrigley Field and been there, done that, and went there with his dad. And now my dad's in the stands watching me pitch. I tell you what I did do once, though, Chris. This was later when I was with the Padres because I felt a little bit more comfortable as a big leaguer. I came in relief, and it was the 7th inning, and Harry Carey would sing "Take Me Out to the Ballgame," right? So I'm doing my warm-ups, and I said, and he stands up, the mic in his hand, and you can hear him. I said, you know what? I'm going to sit back and just enjoy this. I don't need any more warm-ups. I'm probably going to get lit up anyway, so who cares? So I take the ball. I just kind of stand on the mound, and Harry's singing "Take Me Out." I'm standing right in the middle of Wrigley Field. I'm in a big league uniform. Stands are packed. It's a great day at Wrigley, and I'm going to enjoy it. So that's what I did one time when Harry sang "Take Me Out to the Ballgame." So it was perfect timing.
Did you get lit up?
I backed up third like every other guy.
You're the best. When did you know you wanted to get into broadcasting? Because, I mean, these days, everybody wants to do something afterward.
Yeah.
You know, mid-'80s, that wasn't the deal.
No, it wasn't. You know what? This could be your homework, and you can contact me after this, but it's amazing how many former Giants are and were broadcasters. Mm-hmm. So that leads me to my answer. Kipe and Krug. I was, I knew I was pretty much toward the end of my career. I always tell people I quit. I didn't retire. I think you have to be good to retire. So I quit at 31. I was only 31. But in that time, my last team, I was with the Rockies. Kipe was announcing for the Rockies in 93 with Charlie Jones. And, we would travel together, obviously. And prior to that, I would talk to guys who I'd played with or against, and they were announcing. I'd say, hey, what's it like? I'd pick their brain because I know I wanted to stay in the game, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And then that time came to where I hung them up, and I came back to San Diego, and I contacted the Padres. They were doing some games on the Prime Network. They were doing like 40 games a year. And Rick Sutcliffe was doing some games. Love Sut. Frank Robinson was doing some games. Kurt Bavacqua, Randy Jones, some other guys. They had like a rotating seat in the color analyst chair. So I called and I said, hey, I'd like to put my name in the hat. Maybe there's some games, not knowing that I'm just, they'll never call me back. So they called me back and they said, hey, you got 3 games you can do in September? I said, sure. So 3 games turned into 6, and then 6 into 9. And the next year, Channel 4 got the rights for it. And I've been fortunate enough. I got hired by Channel 4, and Chris, been there ever since. I mean, it's been quite a ride. That's how. But talking to the players I played with that were announcing while I was still towards the end kind of got me really interested because they got to come to the ballpark and watch big league baseball and talk about it. Why can't I do that?
Did you always have this big a personality?
I was always the class clown, getting into trouble, being a clown. Yeah, I was, to answer your question. Yeah, I was always in the principal's office. Mark talks too much. Mark doesn't concentrate. Mark doesn't apply himself.
I love that one.
Yes, I was. I think, yeah. I mean, my motto in life is, and you've probably seen it on my Twitter page, growing old is mandatory. Growing up is optional. Right?
It is so true.
Yeah.
And in fact, if people were to type in Mark Grant on YouTube, do you know what one of the first clips is that pops up of you?
The umpires.
And for people that haven't, been privy to this, here we go.
Are you going to roll it?
Big Eric Gregg. We got the big guys
Greg.
going.
For a right-hander, he gets like this, and he'll go.
Frank Foley. He's another one of my favorites.
Foley. He's kind of like the Rocky of the umpires. He'll be behind the plate, and he'll go. And then for a strikeout, he'll go.
My
Dutch
favorite.
Renner, one of the all-time favorites. He's from the old school. Very vocal. He'll get behind the plate and go, stay right. 1.
I mean, that is gold, brother.
Well, you know what? The umpires back then were such good guys. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad now. Don't get me wrong. I don't know much of them. I'm sure they're good guys. I mean, there's 99.9% of them are really good guys. But back then, being a reliever and stuff, I got to know the umpires pretty well. I'd be in the bullpen and you watch their movements and how they call strikes and balls and stuff like that. And then I got to know them a little bit. Maybe, you're in a city and you go somewhere after a game to have a social sparkler. And next thing you know, there's Joe West or there's Randy Marsh or there's John Kibler or, Jerry Davis or somebody and Eric Gregg. But we got to know one another. And I remember one time at Wrigley, I was in the bullpen and Joe West was umpiring at second base. And I got his attention. And I did Joe kind of just, the way he calls a strike. So he pointed to me and he did a wind up and then he went. This is in between innings as they were taking their practice though. So no, I've got a real respect for umpires and their job. It's not an easy job to do. So, but I enjoyed meeting the ones I did, became friends with. They were great.
Did any of those guys ever see that clip? And
come up to you and say,
they nailed it.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. That was on, that was Dave Campbell, just for people that are watching.
Soup?
We were in Soup. We were in Montreal. You could tell by the stands in the background. He goes, "Hey, I want to have you on the pregame show. You want to do your umpires?" And I said, sure, that'd be fun. So he just kind of stood by the camera and he just threw out some names and I went about my business doing that. And then This Week in Baseball got wind of it. And then that's when they aired it and did that. So yeah, that's gotten some pretty good traction over the years.
You would have been our go-to guest on Intentional Talk. I could have told you that. You would have been on like 3 times a year. It would have been you, man. We would have been pulling you in all the time.
Yeah. How is Kevin doing, by the way?
He's become this fake Texan rancher. Everybody thinks he's just this big old redneck. I'm like, he grew up in Los Angeles. Like, right. With that whole thing. Although he has spent more than half his life in Texas, and now he's got a ranch about an hour from his home. And
oh, really?
Yeah. So he's got cattle out there, and like I think Josh Beckett bought him a head of cattle, or I don't know what you call it.
Wow.
I'm a city kid. So
a real rancher.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Tell him I said hello.
Oh, I will. He's great. We still keep in touch.
Sure.
You got traded to the Padres.
Yes. Probably the best move of my career, but go ahead.
What made it the best?
Because I was dating my wife at the time, who was still my wife. She lived in San Diego. I lived in San Francisco with the team. And let's see what happened. We were in Chicago. It was July 4th week. And Dirk Smith was our traveling secretary. And I was in the hotel bar with my best friend, Shocker. And we, seriously, my best friend from high school, we were having a beer in the hotel bar. Sorry, our traveling secretary, once again, no cell phones, no, nothing. He tracks me down. He says, "Hey, Mud, I got to talk to you." I said, "What's wrong? Am I in trouble?" He goes, "Al Rosen wants to see you." And I go, "Oh, what did I do now?" I'm like, I'm in trouble or something. He goes, "I can't tell you." I said, "Dirk, you better tell me, because you better, am I in trouble?" He goes, "No, you're not in trouble." He goes, "You got to act surprised." I go, "What?" He goes, "You've been traded." I go, "Where?" He goes, "The Padres." I go, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh." So we go up to Al's suite, and it's Al, Roger, Craig, Ralph Nelson. And they said, "Yeah, we made a deal with the Padres and you're part of it." I said, "Oh, wow." And honestly, I was kind of taken aback because I wanted to be a Giant forever. I mean, now, it's not going to happen to a lot of guys. Very fortunate if you do that, like Tony Gwynn with one team. I wanted to be a Giant, but I got the news. And then once again, went back to my hotel room. I called Mary, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife. And I said, "Hey," she's like half asleep because it was late at night. "Hey, I just got traded to the Padres." She goes, "Oh, that's great." I go, No. I said, "You don't get it." I said, "Wake up." I just got traded to San Diego Padres. Okay. All right. I said, okay, whatever. I'll call you tomorrow. So, yeah, and I've been there ever since, Chris. It's been since 1987. So, I mean, wearing flip-flops every day.
Well, you only got a front row seat to seeing, the greatest contact hitter I've ever seen.
Yeah, Tony was great. Gosh, and what's great also is now I get to work with his son, Tony Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Tony does radio. Working with Donnie is awesome. I mean, my gosh, it's like going to work with your best friend. We yuck it up. We have fun. He's great at his craft. Jesse and Tony on radio, obviously we traveled together, but it's almost like Tony obviously being a reflection of his dad and being with Tony Sr. every day as well. Tony is such a good kid. I love him.
Kid.
He is just fun to be around and just a joy.
So what's your best Tony Sr. story that you've got?
My best Tony Sr. story is I loved throwing batting practice to him. And I as an announcer, in my younger days, I would go on the road with the team and I'd go out for early batting practice and get a workout, and I would throw batting practice like I did during my career. And so I would get a good workout in, and Tony would take BP. But the beauty of it was, Chris, that he would say, okay, Mud, you can mix it up now. This is great. So I can throw whatever I want, try to get you out or whatever. And he goes, yeah, this was fun. So I tried to throw cutters and curveballs and sliders and changeups. I would get to my release point, right? And he would yell out, curveball, really? Fastball, really? Really, dude? Okay, I know you're good. Thanks for rubbing it in. But that's how well he saw the ball, and he waved a magic wand, man. We all saw it firsthand. It was amazing. And here's another thing I admire about Tony. He was always a good hitter, but he really took pride in his fielding. And when he won his first Gold Glove, he actually said that he was more proud of that than his batting title, because it was something he had worked on and became great at, and hence the Gold Glove that he won.
You just, it's one of the joys I have in having kids that are 21 and 16, and they'd ask me how good was so-and-so or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And my 16-year-old who plays baseball was looking up Tony Gwynn's stats the other day. He's like, Dad, he didn't strike out. I was like,
no.
Yeah, he would strike out 5 times a month. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What's the most he struck out in a season? Wasn't it 18 or something? Or maybe even the number he wore, 19? I know you got the baseball reference up.
Yeah, we'll get it up. But there's
but you know what the amazing stat, Chris, is that I always love, and whenever somebody posts it on Twitter, it just amazes me. Tony could have took an 0 for 1,300 and still batted 300. That's unbelievable. That is so crazy. By the way, you look great in that brown and gold hat, dude.
So this is one of the better ones that I've got, of the big league lids. I love their uniforms. Ever since they made the change to the pinstripes and then kind of the brown pinstripes and stuff, I'm a big fan. And that place, by the way, I'm really happy that the Padres have gotten a star in Tatis and obviously Machado as well. They've turned that into the place to be, which is really important when you're the only show in town. It is a fun atmosphere.
It really is. Attendance is doing very, very well the last few years that we're able to have fans. We are so fortunate to go to Petco Park every day. And it's like anything else. And I'm guilty of it. I'll admit it. You kind of get desensitized to your surroundings, right? Because you're doing it every day, right? So I myself even have to sit back and soak it in to where this Dodger series this past weekend, 44,000 plus. It was the Petco Park record, history of Petco Park, the most for a 3-game weekend series. But to sit back and, look out at Gallagher Square and it's packed and the seats are, full, and it was just an electric atmosphere. It was really, really good. We're lucky. We're very, very lucky.
And I think it goes to show you that, I mean, listen, we know that San Diego isn't New York, Chicago, LA,
Sure.
Boston. It's not. But the fact that ownership has put the amount of money it has into payroll when right now you're visiting a team in Cincinnati, which has been front and center with the payroll slashing they've had and the fans showing up in some brown bags and that sort of stuff. I think it's great for the fans of San Diego and for the players. It just does something to the entire baseball community down there.
Bottom line is Peter Seidler, the ownership group, Eric Grupner, president, they care. They want a winner so badly. And I don't need to, that's just the fact. Peter Seidler, the owner, part of the O'Malley family back in the day with the Dodgers, baseball's in his blood. He wants to bring a winner, and he is doing everything to try to put together a ball club. AJ Preller the same, to try to bring a championship to San Diego. And there's no doubting that. And that rubs off on the fans. Like, hey, you know what? These guys care. They're passionate and they care. They want a winner badly.
Did you take Tatis's motorcycle and you just ride it around town just by yourself? Because he's not allowed to do that anymore. So we've clarified that. Are you? Because I can see you shirtless just riding down the PC.
Well, yeah, it's. I took my Vespa and I put it in storage. I actually do have my motorcycle license. I got it like maybe 8-9 years ago, but I don't ride now. I rode for a little bit here. In fact, real quick story. I got my motorcycle license and had a motorcycle. And one day I went out for a ride. I never had a close call, nothing, because living out in East County, go back roads and stuff, just whatever, get away for a while. And I came home one day, like I said, no close calls or anything. And I parked it and I got off of it. And I said to myself, what am I doing? I love to ride. It was great. To get away and just, clear your head and stuff. But I thought to myself, what am I doing? You're going around a corner, maybe you hit a patch of rocks or something, or, you can't look out for the other guy. You can't worry about what the other guy's doing, right? So I since that day, I don't know what day it was, but since that day, I washed my hands and I said, no more. Not going to do it.
Just got a few more minutes with you. Your favorite road city to visit as a player when you were playing?
Chicago. And I'm a little biased, obviously. Yeah, but you know what, though? A couple of things. One is, if I had to exclude Chicago, being the biased Chicagoland kid, I always loved going to New York just because of the buzz of the city. Get in and get out. I probably could live in New York. I probably could. I always wanted to play 1 year with the Yankees or the Mets in my career just to experience it. Never got a chance to do that. Love San Francisco. I love the culture. I love the city. Being a Giant helped me appreciate that. Here's my sleeper town. You want to hear my sleeper town?
I'm ready.
One of my favorites, Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. I love America's Dairyland. I love the people of Milwaukee. I love the downtown. It's just, there's something about great food. I just love Milwaukee. Big fan.
Do you believe the ghost in the hotel?
No. You know what I heard about that? I heard guys were going around with remote controls under guys' doors, like changing channels. How funny is that?
That's great.
Isn't that funny?
Good. That is good. Who was the funniest guy you played with? Because I'm sure a lot of people would say it was Mud Grant for them, but
no, Pete Harnish.
Oh my
Remember
God.
Pete?
Yeah.
Pete's unbelievable. Pete, one of the smartest, funniest guys. He went to Fordham. He told me a story. He was just nonstop, just one-liners. And I've stolen a lot of his stuff too. He said when he was at Fordham, he'd get a call on a Wednesday from the Bronx Police Department. Hey, Pete, don't shave. We need you to line up on Saturday. he'd get like $50. He'd go stand in Have you ever met Pete?
No.
Oh, Casey Candell. I was in Houston in '93 briefly before I got traded to the Rockies. And I'll tell you what, that was one of the fun. In the shortest time I was there, that was probably the funnest team. We had Bagwell, Biggio, Luis Gonzalez, Scott Service, Steve Finley, Pete Harnish, Mark Portugal, Greg Swindell, Casey. It was just, oh my gosh, X Hernandez, Dougie Drabeck. We had so much fun on that team. Oh my gosh. If I could go back, take me back, Chris, will you?
No. You're good where you are right now. You're good where you are.
I'm in Cincinnati, and I just had my latte. I found a nice little coffee shop down the street.
See, there you go. That's all you need.
I like to find
make yourself happy.
I like to find the old mom and pop coffee shops and go experience that.
You have amazing recall, so I'm going to give you a little quiz time. Then we're going to spin our wheel of moderately interesting things, and I'll let you go call the Padres and Reds. You gave up homers to 7 future Hall of Famers. How many of the 7 do you think you can name?
Mike Schmidt.
Yes.
Andre Dawson.
Yeah, I think he got you 3 times. I think he's the most.
Oh, thanks.
Once again, just reporting facts.
Barry Bonds. He's not in the Hall of Fame. He never hit a home run off me, though, but he hit like 472. Okay, that's 2.
It's a good list.
There's got to be I'm drawing a blank.
You're in his town right now.
Oh, Cincinnati Red.
Barry Larkin.
Yeah, that's right.
The other guys that got you are Rock Raines.
Okay.
Ryan Sandberg.
Yeah. I hung a slider to him. Slider speed bat, by the way. I should have pelted him down and away. His first move was this. Next time you watch Ryan Sandberg, his first move, ball on the pitcher's hand. You pitch the middle in, you're done. You got to pitch him down and away.
Yeah.
Ryan Sandberg.
It's okay.
Really?
Well, let's move on. It's okay. It's all right. He hit a lot of them. Eddie Murray.
Love Eddie Murray. He could hit.
And Gary Carter.
Yeah. Love the kid. Yeah. He was a giant. He was a giant when he hit the home run off me, I think, at Jack Murphy Stadium.
Yeah, I forgot that he was out there for a little bit with the flowing locks and everything.
Yeah.
Boy, he was good. I believe you drove in 2 runs in your major league career as a hitter. Do you remember who you got the last one off of?
Oh, wow. I know I've got a hit I've got 6 hits, right?
I believe that's what it is. 2 RBI.
Right. But 2 of my 6 hits are off Hall of Famers, Rich Gossage and Greg Maddux.
Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, who did I drive in?
No. You got your last RBI of your career actually came against the Giants as an Atlanta Brave. Is this possible?
Yes. I'm trying to think.
It was 1990. October 2nd of 1990. There's no way you're going to remember. I didn't remember this guy.
Oh, yeah. It was a ground ball to second base. It was the second to last game of the season. Tony and Will were down to the next day for the batting title where Tony won it. It was a ground ball to second base, and I drove in Tony Gwynn.
Paul McClellan was the pitcher you hit it off of.
Yes. Yeah. Little kind of, yeah. It was Tony that scored, right?
I'll have to go look that up.
I think it was Tony.
I care about you and just getting the run in. Who hit the last homer that you gave up? Do you remember who hit it?
It was either Ron Gant or Jeff Blauser.
It was Ron
Gant. And they were back to back.
Oh,
here's a little story. That was the last. Yeah, that was at Mile High Stadium. I was a Rocky. My arm was killing me. Not that that's an excuse because I sucked anyway. So who was the first one or the last one I gave up?
Ron Gant.
Okay, but before that, Blauser's up at the plate. Gone. Ron Gant. Gone. Next guy, Fred McGriff. He hits a one-hopper seed P-Rod to Vinny Castilla at shortstop, knocks him into shallow left center field. He throws him on to first base. And that was the last pitch I threw in the big leagues as a Rocky at Mile High Stadium. I remember that day. Like it was yesterday.
Did you know that I was just done? It was over.
I got called in the next day and I got released. And Don Baylor was my manager. Don Zimmer was the coach. Larry Bernarth was the pitching coach. Wow. All no longer with us. Wow. And that's when I started considering looking, into other vocations and as far as like the radio, TV type stuff. But then in 95, remember the strike year, 95?
Mm-hmm.
I had like 12 teams call me. Hey, we need players. I said, no. I said, sorry, I'm not going to take that route. So I said one last go around. I said, I'm going to call the Cubs. I called Jim Riggleman and Jim Hendry. And I said, hey, here's the deal. I know you guys are wanting guys to come, replacement players or whatever. I said, I don't want to take that route, but I do want to come to camp to try to make the Des Moines team AAA. I'm a kid who grew up in Chicago. I want to maybe if I get that chance to pitch as a Cub at the big leagues. They said, sure. We understand your situation. You've pitched 7 years in the big leagues. And I said, yeah, I don't want to tarnish that. They said, okay. So I went to spring training that year, made the Des Moines club, pitched in AAA. And then and then I hurt my shoulder again. So that was the last over here. And then I tried to go to Taiwan the next year, 96, shut it down to Taiwan. And then that's when the TV thing came up. And that's leads me to talking to Chris Rose today.
Sorry.
How about that's all right. Hey, life's good.
Did you cry when it was done, by the way?
Yes, I did. I remember I was on a flight back to San Diego from Taiwan, and I got a piece of paper and a pen out, and I wrote a letter to my dad. Yeah, kind of like a thank you letter. So, yeah. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for.
I love that. That's so sweet. What'd you tell him?
Yeah. I told him just how much I loved him, how much time and effort, and all that stuff.
How nice is that, man?
Seriously,
yeah, I know you're getting emotional, but
yeah.
But isn't that what it's about, man? Being able to share these moments, whether you're a son or a dad or anything like.
Yeah, because the one thing I always tell people is that when my dad came home from work, I wanted to play catch. He never said no, and that's always stuck with me. Yeah, it's pretty cool, huh? I had a great dad. I have a great dad.
It's pretty awesome.
I need another latte.
We might have to throw a little something extra in it after this. This isn't Oprah, man. We're not supposed to be doing this stuff, but it is good. You know what? It is good to get all the feels because that's what this shit is about. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I have no regrets of my childhood. I know, we can't pick our parents, but I'll tell you what, I've got a couple of good ones still. So
that's so great. I mean, listen, I've been
fortunate.
And I haven't shared this with a lot of people, is that our oldest son, Josh, who's lived in San Diego the last couple of years, has just started on as a production assistant on the Padres pre and post game shows. And you were nice enough to look out for him. And he texted me the minute you said hi to him on day one. And
oh, really?
He's
a good kid.
He is a sweet kid. He's a nice kid.
You can tell by his actions and the look in his eye and the joy in his eyes that he loves being in the surroundings. And of course, you being the great dad, you being a sports guy and loving sports and loving baseball. And that is something, you passed on to him, which my dad passed on the love of baseball to me. And you can tell the joy and excitement that he has. And it's fun to be around people like that, Chris. You're very lucky to have a son like Josh. He's a good egg.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's interesting because I mean, I'm not short. I'm 6 feet tall, but he's like 6'5", rail thin, inked out. He's got the sweet lettuce, the whole bit. You know, he's got like the model looks. And I'm like, everybody is like, "Are you sure that's your son?" I was like, well, you have to ask the wife where she was 22 years ago. I love him like he's mine, and Mud, that's all that matters. I'm going to spin the wheel of moderately interesting things before we get out of here.
Sure.
You get to answer this. Oh, this is, well, you've talked a lot about your wife. I want to know how you met her. Meet and greet title.
You know what? It's a two-part answer. Whenever we're out somebody, we're out at like at a party or something, and people don't really know, you know, we're just getting to know. People say, "Hey, how'd you meet your wife?" And I'll say, "Well, she was a dancer at a club, and I went in there one night," and she goes, "Really?" So anytime somebody asks that question, it's like, "Hey, how did you guys meet?" Immediately she starts going,
"Here we go. Here's his again."
So I said, "No, honestly, I met my wife through a friend of a friend. There were some teammates of mine out one night in Scottsdale at an establishment. Shocker, once again. And we met this group of girls that were on spring break, and we got talking to them. And they said, "Hey, tomorrow night," you know, they had other plans to go somewhere else, and they said, "Tomorrow night we're going to this place in Scottsdale." I said, and we said there was like me and like 4 other guys. I said, "Oh, okay, well, we'll meet you there." But she wasn't there that night that we were talking. So we went the next night and went there, and she was there, and just kind of introduced to everybody, and, you know, just, you know, talking, meeting, greeting. And we just hung out, and I liked her so much. And I'm not ashamed to say this. I liked her so much that when it was time, because she had to go the next day, I extended my hand and I said, "Mary, it was very nice to meet you. I hope that we can keep in touch." And that was it.
Classy. That's classy.
So that's what happened.
To keep in touch back then, just to let everybody know, it wasn't as easy.
I know. Hey, I'll call you at 10 o'clock on your phone in your apartment or in your hotel room or whatever. How did we get by, Chris?
I have seriously, I don't know how my parents parented. My kids are out. I'm checking out the app to follow them and stuff. I'm just making sure they're driving okay. Like for us, you know, we'd leave the house at 6 o'clock and come home at 2 a.m. They'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" I would be like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?"
Yeah. And it's something they won't understand until they have kids. And I'll leave you with this. When we talk about parents and stuff like that, it kicked in for me. You know, kids they know if your parents love you and everything. But here's when it kicked in for me. When I had kids, I finally realized how much my mom and dad loved me. That's when it kicked in. Now I get it. Mm-hmm. Mom, leave me alone. Dad, why? Why are you asking me that? Leave me alone. I'm good. Well, now I know.
Definitely know.
Yep.
It is the great equalizer somewhere down the road.
Yep.
But I know this went a little bit longer than you probably anticipated, but I got lost in it. It was awesome.
That's all right. It's all good.
I'll see you down in San Diego. You tell Don and the rest of the crew I say hello, please.
I will. And surprise me again with a big old bear hug like you did last time we saw each other in San Diego.
Absolutely. I will do it. Special shout out to our producer extraordinaire, the one and only Robbie Scirocco, for Mark Mud Grant. I am Chris Rose. We'll see you next time on the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media.